Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're here with part 47 of our F1 2021 MyTeam career mode here for the Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka circuit. Last time out we were in Italy at Monza, spoiler alert, we finished in second place there behind Valtteri Bottas after a pretty insane race. It was an 8-way scrap for the lead in those last couple of laps, so if you didn't check that out, make sure to go and give it a watch. It was a very entertaining race, and you can see here we head into the championship with a 19-point lead over Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, and then Verstappen, our teammate, is in third. So we got a nice little buffer heading into this round, but we got to make sure we don't get too complacent and we don't let that get down. We got to make sure we stay ahead of Leclerc at every opportunity and take every opportunity we can to get ahead of that Ferrari, because yeah, we've seen what sort of race pace Leclerc can have if he's left to his own devices, so we've got to make sure we challenge him as much as we can. We didn't have a great qualifying around here this time out. We'll have a look at that later on in the grid rundown, but yeah, it certainly could have been better, and we're just going to have to push forward through the field if we want to outscore Leclerc, is all I'll say there. So yeah, without further ado, let's head on to the race.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Vettel, Charles Leclerc and Bottas, Hamilton, Benjamin, Sainz and Lando Norris, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon, Russell, Stroll, Nicholas Latifi and Antonio Giovinazzi, Matsushita, Mazepin, Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
So here we are lining up in P8 on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix. As I said, wasn't the best qualifying session. I just didn't quite have the pace of these other guys around us. So we've got a lot of work to do if we want to get a decent points finish. In terms of little notes of what's happened, Perez on pole and Ricciardo on second. So that's the front row. Good to see. I say good to see Ricciardo on the front row doing well in Mercedes, but obviously we want to beat him. We want to prove that it was justified getting him out of the car at the halfway point of the season, with Max, our teammate, in third, Leclerc, our title rival, in P5, and obviously us in P8. So those are the big takeaways from qualifying to keep track of and to try and make sure those are really the main guys we want to beat, really, is what I'm trying to say here. But as we now line up on the grid with everyone around us, we've got to try and make sure we get as good a start as possible. It is 5 lights, we are away. It's an alright launch, but Hamilton is just able to move over, and it's been actually an amazing start for Sainz there in the McLaren. He sweeps around our outside, and we've actually now lost a position because Hamilton covered us off, and Sainz was able to get a better jump around the outside. So we're now down to P9, Sainz up to P8. If you look up towards the front of the field, Verstappen's been able to jump Ricciardo into second place, but Perez has held on to the lead. So a little bit of shuffling, not a whole lot, but just a little bit of movement as we now head into the hairpin here, still on lap 1. It's a massive dive bomb. We get Sainz, and it wasn't even meant to, but we're now alongside Hamilton here. I was only really meant to go for a move on Sainz, but everyone just went a lot slower than I was expecting. So that is us up in 8. We weren't able to get the move done on Hamilton. He just had the better run out of the hairpin, but now we are right behind him as we head down this back straight section. And something to notice, or not really notice, but to point out here, is that this straight will have DRS. It's a new feature for this season of the game. We have got an extra DRS straight here around Suzuka to help aid with racing. We'll see that in action on lap 3 when DRS is enabled, but we don't have DRS yet, so just on pure power there, we have to get ourselves around Lewis Hamilton, which we do out of the final chicane, and that is us now into P7. So after losing an initial spot there at the start of the race, we now made up a spot by the end of lap 1 from P8 to P7, and we now got to chase down our title rival Leclerc in P6. But having a little look through the running order, we got Perez leading the way ahead of Verstappen in P2, who has jumped Daniel Ricciardo, who is now down in P3 in the Mercedes A. He does seem a lot more comfortable in the Mercedes than he did in our car, I will say that. So, yeah, maybe just the driving style not suiting Ricciardo there for our car compared to the Mercedes. Sebastian Vettel, surprisingly, the lead Ferrari there in P4, ahead of Bottas and the other Red Bull in 5th. Leclerc, our title rival I just mentioned, in P6, with us now chasing him down in P7. Remember, obviously, as I just said, he is our title rival, and so we want to score as many points over him as we possibly can. We've got Hamilton 8th and the 2 McLarens of Sainz and Norris rounding out the top 10. I don't know what went wrong with those guys this season. They just got something fundamentally wrong with that car after being so dominant last time out in Season 2, and Norris being the reigning world champion. To now, they're in a position where they're sort of just on the very fringes of points-paying positions. But you can see now, we're on lap 2. We are pretty close to Leclerc, not close enough to go for a move down the straight here, but close enough to be in the slipstream to try and close up for maybe a move on lap 3. As we head through 130R, we do close in a little bit there on Leclerc. I don't know why he backed out there, and we can see we have a little look to the inside of the chicane, but he just sort of moved over a little bit to sort of say, no, you're going to have to sit behind us. So that's what we do now as we head on to lap 3 down the main straight. We are very close to Leclerc. It's a purple last sector for us there, just demonstrating the pace we have at the start of this race. And as we head down towards turn 1, last second, I'm going to look to the inside and go for a move. Very brave there to trust that Leclerc wasn't going to turn in on us, which luckily he didn't. And that is us now into P6. We've got to chase down Bottas in P5. And actually, here's Daniel Ricciardo in the Mercedes slowing down. He's got an engine failure. Huge shame there for Ricciardo. He just had this. Is his last season in F1, remember? At the end of the last video, we saw the announcement that Ricciardo was retiring from F1 after this season. And I've got to say, it's probably one of his worst seasons in his career. Probably the worst season in his career. Having not a great start with us, and then doing all right, but then getting dropped from the team, going to Mercedes, and yeah, now an engine failure here in Japan when he could have been challenging for a race win. But that's not really what we're focusing on now. So we head on to lap 3. You can see there is the demonstration of DRS here as we close in rapidly on Bottas down this back straight, and actually see getting a bit caught out with the DRS. That was my first time using it in a race setting, obviously, and yeah, with race fuel, just sort of ran a little bit wide, not expecting to have that much understeer with that extra bit of speed. But as we now head on to lap 4, I'm right on the back of the Finn in the Red Bull. Are we going to be able to go for a move? He does have DRS on Sebastian Vettel up in P3, but we do have enough overspeed to go to the inside of turn 1, and a bit of an easier move compared to what we made on Leclerc just a lap ago, and that is us now into P4, and we've got to chase down Sebastian Vettel for that bottom step of the podium. So yeah, hopefully we can get our head down now and just sort of ignore Bottas behind us and try and chase down the Ferrari. But you can see, cutting towards the end of lap 5, he actually lost a whole bunch of time to Vettel. He's now 2 seconds ahead compared to the 9/10 he was just a lap ago. But looking back to Valtteri Bottas, he's actually been a bit slow. And you can see now Charles Leclerc gets the move done very easily down that straight. Bottas didn't get a poor run by any means, but Leclerc is able to get ahead and get back onto the racing line before 130R. And already now, a half a second gap to Bottas, and Bottas is not at all going to challenge Leclerc down the main straight here. So I wonder if Bottas maybe has an issue. You can see he's got Hamilton now right behind him, and he's nowhere near trying to re-challenge Leclerc for that P5. And you can see here, on lap number 6 now, he's lost 2.5 seconds to Leclerc in just one lap, not even a lap yet. And here comes Hamilton now, easily breezing past the Red Bull. So it certainly seems like there's some sort of issue there for Bottas' car, which is a massive shame for him now after obviously getting his first win in a while in Monza last time out. And now he's just dropping down the order here in the race. He's now, once again, the exact same thing, half a second to Hamilton in just that last chicane. So yeah, definitely some sort of issue. It's not a broken front wing. You can see it's all intact there as we now head on to lap 7. Surprise, surprise, what's going to happen here? He's going to be under attack from Carlos Sainz. He's lost 2 seconds to Hamilton. So yeah, 100% confirmed. Bottas has an issue as Sainz goes to the inside of 130R. And actually, Bottas holds it around the outside there. So Sainz not getting quite the run that he would have liked there down that back straight with the DRS. And Bottas is going to fight it. He gets the better run out of the last corner there. And yeah, Sainz now sort of stuck behind Bottas. He's going to have to try and have another go. Except now Lando Norris with other ideas. He's going to try and get ahead of his teammate into turn 1. And he does get the move done there. So classic situation of trying to make up a position, but in the end you end up losing a position for Carlos Sainz there. And now it's Lando Norris' turn to try and have a go at Valtteri Bottas there on lap 8. Towards the end of lap 8, you'd assume he'd try and make that move. But yeah, the McLarens, as I said before, they really shouldn't be that far down when you look at how well they were doing at the end of last season. I don't know what really went wrong. They should have been on top form to come and try and take a second Constructors title and Drivers Champion. But yeah, that's just not how it's panned out for them, unfortunately. As we now head to the end of lap 8, I've been really struggling on these softs now. You would have just seen Leclerc is right behind me. We've got a 2-second gap back to Hamilton and 3.5-second gap up to Vettel, so it's just us two title rivals on our own to battle it out. As we head through 130R, we're going to go side by side. I tried to make it hard for Leclerc to make him go around the outside of 130R, but he did it. He called the bluff, and he's gone around the outside and got the move done there, so props to Leclerc. I wasn't expecting him to make that move, but he has, and now it's our turn to have DRS down the main straight, so we are going to come back at our title rival here. I cannot afford to let him get in front and try and pull away to take a win here in Japan, so we do get the move back on Leclerc there and get ourselves back into P4. But yeah, I just did not have any pace whatsoever at this point of the Grand Prix. I don't know if I just maybe used the softs up too early, getting ahead of those cars, or if maybe just our car isn't quite as good on the tyres. But you can see here now, lap 9, Carlos Sainz has gotten ahead of Lando Norris again, so I guess Lando wasn't able to get ahead of Bottas, and now as they go through 130R again, Bottas again holds it around the outside of the McLaren, so I don't know what's different, but Bottas does not want to let these McLarens through. As they head through the final corner, Sainz does get ahead there, and actually Bottas peels into the pit lane, same with Norris, Gasly, and Alonso, so those guys coming in for their one and only pit stop here. You can see Vettel also in same two with Max Verstappen, our teammate, all going under the hard compound tyre. It is supposed to be a one-stop race here. As you can see, here we are, as well as Leclerc and Perez, who are yet to make a pit stop. Obviously, Sainz as well in P4. We will be coming in at the end of this lap for our pit stops. You can see, cutting to the end of lap 10 here, we're still ahead of Leclerc into the pit lane. You can see here's Perez onto a set of mediums. So Perez going for that alternate strategy to get through the mediums to get to the end of the race. And that is exactly what we're doing as well, because I just had no pace on these softs, and I can't afford getting stuck with Leclerc for the rest of this race, battling on hards. So you can see Leclerc's on hards, Ferrari playing it safe. We're going to go on mediums and see if we can maybe catch up to that front battle with the top three. Because I would really like to get those extra points in the bank to try and secure our place at the top of this championship. So, very risky strategy from us here. We're going to try and use these fresher tyres to pull away from Leclerc and towards that front group. But at the same time, our tyres will be a lot worse than everyone else's towards the end of the race. I'm not sure why Perez did the same thing going to the mediums, because he was leading the race. He should be pretty comfortable with there. But you can see at the end of lap 12, these tyres are absolutely working. We've set the fastest lap of the race there. And yeah, we are very close to Vettel. We've already closed in the 3 seconds to now be only 6/10 behind the German, and we're 3 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. And to not really anyone's surprise, but at the end of that lap, we are now within DRS range here down the back straight, and we're going to close at a rapid rate on the Ferraris. We head towards 130R, and at the very last second, to the inside there, sort of catching Vettel off guard, and again, running wide just because of having that inside line at that speed. I just sort of got a little bit caught out, but yeah, luckily no contact there with the Ferrari, and we are through into P4 now. It will be P3 as Tsunoda comes into the pit lane there off of his medium tyres, and that is us up on the podium position. Can we now chase down the 3-second gap to Perez and Verstappen for the lead of the race? They are battling away there into turn 1, but now as we go on to lap 17, so just a few laps later, we set a purple second sector, and we have massively caught up to these guys. Perez not really pulling away. I assume Perez is saving those tyres, nursing those tyres to the end, whereas we are using this rubber as much as possible to get to this battle. So maybe that's the difference there. It is a risky strategy for us to be using these tyres, but not for Perez because he's nursing him. But you can see Verstappen tries to defend there right up to the inside wall, but we just pretty easily sweep around the outside there with a better rubber. So Verstappen is just going to have to sit behind us now and see if maybe we can make the move on Perez and get our teammate through with us to try and get that 1-2 here in Japan. And you can just see how much we're closing it on Perez already in this first sector. So it certainly seems like he's nursing the tyres more whilst we are pushing, and that could, for now, obviously get us towards the front, but come the end of the race, that could be a massive detriment to us. But that's the strategy, that's the card we've played. We do have a massive gap on Leclerc now, so obviously the pushing has worked. We have gained a bunch of time, and now it's just a case of can we sort of look after the tyres for the rest of the race and at least maintain that gap to a point where we can stay ahead come the end of the race. But you can see as we head towards Spoon Curve here, we have got within DRS range of Perez. Verstappen is still within DRS of us, so maybe he's turned up the wick just a little bit to try and stay in contact with us to see if we can pull him up to Perez. We do get the DRS down the back straight now, and just look at how much we're going to close in on the Red Bull. This is why we got the DRS, to try and make the battle a little bit more interesting as we fly up on Perez there, pretty much halving the gap in that one straight. As we now head into the final chicane, we are obviously again going to have DRS down the main straight. And are we going to be able to go for a move on the Mexican in the Red Bull as we get the DRS on? Full ERS deployment here. We're closing to the inside. Perez tried to defend there a little bit going mid-track, but we pretty easily get to the inside line there and get the move done on the Red Bull. We were on a little bit wide, and actually Perez is going to use that opportunity to come back at us. So Perez now going to demonstrate why he was saving those tyres as he tries to pull up alongside us here. We're going to go side by side through the S section here, the whole way through the S section here. This will allow Verstappen to close up on us here, as neither of us are able to take the proper racing line through there. And we do just about pull ahead of the Red Bull there. So we do officially now properly take the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix. And it is now once again a three-way battle for the lead as Verstappen closes in on the two of us after that little scrap as we head into the hairpin. But now cutting on to the end of lap 19, start of lap 20. I ran a little bit on the grass there, but that didn't really slow us down. But here comes Perez now with the DRS. I'm going to push to the inside. So Perez is going to try and go to the outside, and he actually gets the move done pretty easily there. I tried to go to the inside, but he just had that much overspeed that he was pretty much completely ahead by the time we got to the corner. So I'm just going to have to sit behind the Red Bull here and stay as close as possible for the next lap here onto lap 21. It's pretty much just a role reversal at this point here as we now have the DRS. We're going to close in on the Red Bull. Perez doesn't even go defensive. We just go straight to the inside, get our nose in there. We're going to go side by side. Perez actually runs a little bit off the track there. He was trying to push to hold it around the outside, but we do get the move done. Perez, luckily for him there, keeps it on track in position as we now cut a few laps forward now on the lap 23. We've managed to keep ahead of Perez just for a little bit. I don't know if maybe he's gone back into tyre conservation mode there as we run down the back straight with DRS. Here comes Perez into 138. He's going to put his nose there. I'm going to try and hold it around the outside. Perez keeps his nose in there. So we're going to go side by side into the final chicane now. Here Perez has his nose ahead, but I'm going to try and go for a beautiful crisscross there. Look at that. We get the move done. A much better run than Perez. And not only that, but we have the DRS. Perez does not. So we're going to stay in the lead down the main straight here. And now Verstappen is going to go for a move on the Red Bull into turn 1. Is he able to get the move done? They're going to go side by side through the first two corners. But is Verstappen going to get the move? Yes, he does. Verstappen gets into second place. So it's now a 1-2 here for Zvezky Racing. But I do have to say the mediums are very, very worn at this point of the race. They've been on for just about 14 laps now. And so they absolutely passed their best to the point now where the hard tyres are definitely the better tyre to be on. They just haven't worn as much, obviously, and are now a lot more grippy. And on the same lap here, lap 24, Verstappen is right behind us, is within DRS. We pulled a little bit of a gap to Perez and the two Ferraris behind. But now here comes our teammate down towards 130. I'm going to not defend there. I'm just going to allow Verstappen to the inside, actually back out of it a little bit and everything, just so he can get ahead, because I don't want to make contact with my teammate, obviously, and I'm going to sit him behind Verstappen as we head onto the main straight and try and get him back with the DRS. Here we go. Just like we did with Perez, he got through on that back straight. Now we're going to go and try and get back through on the main straight as we head down towards turn 1. Verstappen goes defensive, so we go around the outside. We actually get completely ahead there before turn 1, so that is us back into the lead with 3 laps to go now. You can see we've got a Haas up ahead, so hopefully he gets out of the way as we go through the S section. But you can just see how much more I'm struggling, how much slower I'm going. Before, when we initially overtook Perez, everything was just on rails. And now I'm going a lot slower, a bit more understeer, having to make a few more corrections. And Verstappen's been able to stay right on our tail the whole way through there. So, yeah, definitely past their use by date, these tyres. You can see blue flags are out now for Schwartzman, but he still hasn't gotten out of the way, which is interesting to note. But the reason we've stayed on board is because, look at that, on the halo, running along the car now, there is some rain. So the track's going to get a little bit damp towards the end of the race now, and things could get a little bit more dangerous as we get a very poor traction out of the hairpin there. Now Verstappen's going to try and challenge us into Spoon Curve, not even waiting for the DRS straight. He's going to go around the outside of Spoon here. We're going to keep it side by side through the second part of the corner. Verstappen, look at the confidence he had there on the hards on a slightly damp track. And that car was loose, and he just kept it in there, and he's got the DRS, and we don't. So now here comes Perez to the inside of 130R. We're going to force him to the inside, and we sweep around the outside there. And we get the move done and keep it ahead of Perez. Verstappen through on Schwartzman, but Schwartzman just not getting out of the way. Look how much time we've lost to our teammate. He's now over a second, almost a second and a half ahead of us. We do still have the DRS because we were within DRS range of Schwartzman there in the detection zone. But now look at that. That's stuffed up the guys behind us as well now, because Vettel to the inside of Perez at turn 1. Perez is just about able to sweep around the outside though and hold position. The Ferraris though, looking punchy on those hard tyres. They're both going to try and get through on Perez obviously at some point. And I am desperate to make sure they don't get ahead of me as we head on to the final lap of the Grand Prix. Perez has caught up to us. Verstappen's just gone. He's 3 seconds off in the lead. Perez, remember, he was looking after his tyres a lot more than us, so he's still got a bit more grip than we do in this final stage of the race, and he's able to get the better traction at the hairpin, which gives him the better run into Spoon. So now we're side by side, and I've lost it a little bit, and I've touched the gravel, so Perez is through, Vettel's through, and Leclerc's through. I've lost 3 spots here at the last sector of the last lap, and now we've gone from 2nd down to 5th. Am I able to maybe make a way through? Vettel's in 2nd. Verstappen's going to win the race. Vettel's going to get 2nd. But this is still undecided here between the Ferrari and Red Bull. So Leclerc gets through to 3rd. Perez 4th. And after such a good race, we've lost 3 positions. And frustratingly, we've ended up in P5.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Another action-packed Japanese Grand Prix comes to an end. And what a magnificent drive to take the win here today. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Well, what can I say? We tried to pull off the strategy on those medium tyres and push like hell to get to the front of the pack, and it did work, but in the end they're just a little too worn out, and we lost those crucial positions right on the last lap of the race. I feel that little bit of a rain didn't come and make the track that little bit more slippery, we could have held on to 2nd place and got the 1-2 for the team there, but in the end it is Verstappen that wins here in Japan, ahead of Vettel in 2nd and Leclerc in 3rd. That's probably the best result the Ferraris have had so far this season, with a 2-3 there. Perez gets 4th in the Red Bull, ourselves in 5th. We did get the fastest lap as well, so we do get an extra point to our name, and in the end we only lose 3 points to Leclerc, so still a bit of a hefty buffer we've got in the championship, but still not ideal. Hamilton in P6, the 2 McLarens of Sainz and Norris in 7th and 8th, and the 2 AlphaTauris of Tsunoda and Gasly ran out the top 10. That's something I haven't pointed out yet. AlphaTauri seem to have taken over the mantle of best of the rest over Alpine. Remember, the first half of the season, Alpine was sort of the ones rounding out the top 10 in the points, and now it's AlphaTauri. It's a bit of a shame to see Gasly not performing like he was about halfway through Season 2. If you remember that, he was on track to win in Canada and got 2nd in France, so it's a shame Gasly sort of lost that form a little bit, but looking at the driver standings, as I said, we lost 3 or 4 points there to Leclerc, so it's a 15-point lead we now hold over the Monegasque driver in the Ferrari, and Verstappen currently sits in 3rd. He did close that gap down, obviously, with the race win, and I'd say it's probably between the 3 of us to win the championship. More so between myself and Leclerc, but Verstappen is obviously still in there, and his recent form has shown, with a little bit of bad luck for myself and Leclerc, Verstappen can very well get himself into this, but the main focus here, the Constructors' Championship that we're trying to win here in our final season on this game, where we are 5 points now off Ferrari, so very close to taking over the lead there over the Scuderia, and yeah, we're going to have to give it absolutely everything. We can't make mistakes if we want to win this championship, because Ferrari have shown that that's just not what they do in this career mode. We have a nice buffer over Red Bull, so I'd say it's just between ourselves and Ferrari for the rest of this season now. And yeah, we've got to give it absolutely everything and try, and I'd like to get a 1-2 with Verstappen. If we got one with Ricciardo, if we get one with Verstappen, that'd be very, very nice indeed. But that is all for this video, guys. We'll be in the United States at COTA for the US Grand Prix next. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more future videos like this. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.